Hello, I've just taken delivery of a couple of blue Triang locomotives. This one, class 31, body in really good condition, complete, but sold as a non-runner, and it lives up to that reputation as many non-runners do. So I'll show you the power bogie in a moment. I'd bring into shot the power bogie, and as you can probably see, apart from the the headlight, pretty weird. I've not really seen anything quite like that before. Obviously I'll remove that, but the problem is that this piece here is loose, and so when that is put round into position and tightened up, it runs, and it has the additional benefit, because it's very difficult to tell from people about the profile of the wheels. It has low profile wheels, so this bogie runs as is on my Code 100 track, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So if we move on to the other locomotive that arrived from the same seller, as I said, sold as a runner but with a piece missing on the chassis and a buffer missing. So I've taken it to bits, and the body's in pretty good condition, except that not only is the buffer missing, but actually the socket that the buffer goes into is also missing. The way this locomotive is constructed, the power bogie sits at this end and there's plenty of clearance here, so I think what I can do is get some plastic card in the back and then build this up with milliput and fashion a buffer socket, and I'll need to try and find matching buffer somewhere, or get one from somewhere. This is just going to have to be done stage at a time. The chassis, the problem is here where it sits down on the power bogie. This is the power bogie that came with it. It's pretty rough. It needs a clean, but luckily again it's low profile flanges, so that's good. So that's there, and if it were complete this would obviously extend out here and then the clip goes in there. But I think again with some plastic card and possibly maybe a couple of metal rods up here, this could be reinforced and made to work. The other issue it has is that this retaining screw here, the socket into which it's supposed to attach there, it's damaged, seriously damaged, and the brass collet that should fit in there isn't there. So what I'll probably try and do with that, I won't have a collet, I wouldn't think. I'll probably try and glue a nut there to take the body securing screw. Clearly the class 31 is the easier one to make it a going concern, and that I think is what I'll do first. This blue tack is infuriatingly difficult to get off, and I intend to put this in the sonic cleaner, but I don't really want to contaminate it with blue tack either. I don't know, it's maybe been on there for a very long time. Let's see if some isopropyl alcohol or something will do this. I think that can all just go in the bin. Yeah, it seems to be, that's pretty much shifted it. Right, I think that can probably go in the cleaner at that. I'll just do the spiders and the wheels from both of these at the same time. It needs multiple runs to get the phosphor bronze to come back to full factory brightness. Okay, so let's get the colloquially known as the spider out. There we are. The brush is out. And try to remove the insulator. They don't do particularly well in the ultrasonic cleaner. The small parts into this, I think it's a tea strainer. Whatever it is, it's quite good at holding the small parts from dropping through the grill and in the cleaner. Okay, so let's get this lot into the sonic cleaner. So in my initial effort I made a complete duplicate in terms of size of the actual magnet, but I then realised that the only part that matters, as I mentioned earlier, is this part here. So I've also produced, using a lot less plastic and time, a piece like that, and that actually does exactly what is needed because it's supporting, I don't know if that's visible or not, this white piece here that keeps the armature high and tight against the armature bearing tight against the upper part of the chassis. Either are a solution. Since ultrasonic cleaner stop, we'll start that again. But in the interest of time and conservation of 3D printer plastic, these small ones are all you need. This is actually, I've done a lot of 3D printing using stuff that's freely available, and in terms of files online. This is the first time I have actually started from scratch and made a model. People sell these on eBay. I say they sell them on eBay. They advertise them on eBay for anything as much as £7 a pair. How successful they are in selling them, I don't know. I don't think it's a business that's going to make me a huge amount of money, so I may just simply print them for my own purpose. Okay, so this bogie is now built back up and working. Got it on the rolling road just to get some lubrication into it, run it in a wee bit and see how it performs. Stop it spraying all over the place. Quite grindy. Okay. We'll give the wheels and the commutator a bit of a clean. The little bearings plastic bearings on the armature collapsed. They're a kind of round sprung plastic affair held in with the magnets. Presumably they're sprung to give a little bit of flexibility, but what I've done is I've removed them completely, left the bearing in obviously, and extended the plastic magnet by 2.2 millimeters upwards to take the place of the sprung part of the bearings. And you can see now that it's running a lot better. There's a bit of growling way down there, but quite honestly under load it probably won't rotate that slowly anyway, so I'm not going to get too excited about that. So I extended the plastic magnets with a little piece of plastic card and super glue until I got it. I was happy with it. What I'm going to attempt to do now is to make a modified version of my 3D model and reprint the whole thing, because I think that will be more robust, and then I'll probably just change out the prototype plastic magnets with bearing supplement. Okay, so I have now taken this and created this, which is the back piece here represents the back piece on the magnet, to be able to show that. So it slots in, but it only goes as far forward as these extensions to go up very near the wheels are not required, because we're not requiring magnetism. That's where I got to recently, but what I've done with this is I've added another 2 millimeters thick just there, and that gets inserted into the bogie, and that 2 millimeter thick block supports the white nylon bearing minus its springy O section. As these get brittle and that springy O section tends to break off. Now the real solution obviously is to get more, but unless somebody's manufacturing these and in that springy material, you're reliant on the second-hand market, and often you'll end up with something that's no better than what you've already got. It means that the cushioning that you get from the O isn't there, but I think it's a better solution. Well, it's a better solution than not being able to use the bogies, certainly. And the bogies run fine with that in it, so I'm probably going to adopt that as my solution for brittle or missing O sections on that bearing. I'll do a couple of close-up shots of these and insert them into the video as well. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a kind of step-by-step process. I have now started repairing the end that had the buffer socket broken off. I've decided I'll just replace all the buffers because I couldn't find one to match the one that was missing. So I have 3D printed some buffers, which, yeah, you can see there. So I've got 4 of those, and I've 3D printed a tiny little socket that I intend to somehow attach onto this bit here once I've got it rubbed down and sorted out. Okay, so one of the other issues with this was the securing screw was present, but the collet in the lid of the locomotive was missing, and the piece in the roof for a collet to fit was broken. So rather than trying to get all that back the way it should be, what I have done is I have epoxied a bolt of a suitable length and drilled a hole further back from the original fixing hole, which is about here, and that then allows this unit to slot in, and the bolt protrudes through, and then I put on a nut. So that basically sorts that out. What I'll do, I think, for added security is either put a little bit of super glue in the top side of that, bottom side as you're looking just now, or add another nut so that it acts as a lock nut. That will mean that if somebody tries to over tighten the nut that is going on here, it won't start to compress the body and potentially break things, as enough things have been broken already. I then need to address this where it takes the power bogie. I've got a clip. I think it should be relatively straightforward to do that. So more later.